David Benavidez has always been known for his fearless, come-forward style and willingness to take on tough opponents. But his latest comments about preferring to fight Dmitry Bivol over Artur Beterbiev have sparked a heated debate. Many fans and analysts are questioning whether the Mexican monster is making a strategic career move or outright avoiding the biggest threat in the light heavyweight division. Benavidez claims that fighting Bivol would prove he is better than Canelo Alvarez. But is that really the case? Bivol is undoubtedly a skilled and technical fighter, but he lacks the raw power and relentless aggression that Beterbiev brings to the ring. Some believe Benavidez is carefully choosing the less dangerous path to keep his undefeated record intact. After all, Beterbiev has dismantled nearly every opponent he has faced, boasting an almost perfect knockout ratio. Is Benavidez playing it smart, or is he dodging a fight that could expose his weaknesses? The timing of Benavidez's comments only adds more fuel to the fire. Fresh off a brutal war against David Morrell, where he took significant damage, Benavidez's reluctance to face Beterbiev seems even more suspicious. His volume punching and relentless pressure weren't enough to stop Morrell, and many believe he would fare even worse against a devastating puncher like Beterbiev. In contrast, a fight with Bivol would be a more tactical chess match, likely resulting in fewer risks for Benavidez. But fans want to see warriors take on the biggest challenges, not just the most strategic matchups. If Benavidez truly wants to cement his legacy and prove he's the best, shouldn't he be calling out the most dangerous man in the division rather than the safer option? Or is he simply making a calculated decision to extend his career by avoiding unnecessary punishment? The boxing world is watching closely, and until Benavidez steps into the ring with Beterbiev, the whispers of him avoiding the biggest test of his career will only grow louder. David Benavidez has made his preference clear. If given the choice, he would rather face Dmitry Bivol than Artur Beterbiev in his next fight. His reasoning is that he has sparred with Bivol numerous times and believes he actually won his previous match against Beterbiev. While this might seem like a strategic decision, many boxing fans view it differently. They see it as a way for Benavidez to avoid Beterbiev, especially after the brutal punishment he endured in his recent fight against David Morrell. Taking another beating like that could severely impact his career longevity, and given Beterbiev's reputation as one of the hardest punchers in the sport, Benavidez may be trying to sidestep a matchup that could be too dangerous for him. Critics argue that his preference for Bivol, a more technical and defensive fighter, signals that he is not confident in his ability to withstand Beterbiev's relentless pressure and knockout power. Benavidez has also stated that beating Bivol would help him prove he is better than Canelo Alvarez, but many are skeptical of this logic. Just because Bivol defeated Canelo in the past does not mean that a victory over him would automatically make Benavidez superior to Canelo. Critics point out that Benavidez's decision to pursue Bivol instead of Beterbiev is a calculated move to increase his chances of winning. Bivol is known for his speed, movement, and technical ability, whereas Beterbiev is a relentless power puncher who has knocked out almost every opponent he has faced. Given that Benavidez took significant damage in his last fight, many believe he would struggle against a physically imposing fighter like Beterbiev. The Cuban fighter David Morrell exposed some of Benavidez's vulnerabilities, and against an even more powerful opponent like Beterbiev, those weaknesses could be fully exploited. In a recent interview, Benavidez further explained his choice, saying, "I would pick Bivol because he beat Canelo. So when I beat Bivol, that would make my case that I'm better than Canelo." He also emphasized his familiarity with Bivol, recalling their intense sparring sessions and acknowledging Bivol's skill level. However, Benavidez admitted that if Bivol and Beterbiev were to fight again in a rematch, or even a trilogy, he would have to wait his turn before getting a shot at either fighter. His team is already in talks regarding potential future matchups, and there are plans to visit Riyadh on February 22 and to discuss their options with key decision-makers. This suggests that Benavidez is carefully plotting his next move, ensuring that he makes the best possible career decision rather than rushing into a fight that could jeopardize his future in the sport. Despite his confidence, many fans and analysts believe that Benavidez's preference for Bivol is a sign that he is avoiding Beterbiev. They argue that Bivol's fighting style focused on movement and defense presents a far less dangerous challenge than Beterbiev's aggressive, knockout-driven approach. Bivol may be a difficult opponent, but he is not known for his power, which makes him a much safer option for Benavidez. On the other hand, Beterbiev is a relentless force in the ring, and his ability to break down opponents with sheer power and pressure makes him a nightmare matchup for anyone, especially a fighter like Benavidez, who took significant damage in his last 2 fights. Moving up to light heavyweight has already proven to be a major challenge for Benavidez, as he has absorbed far more punishment than he did at 168. Whether he gets his wish to fight Bivol or eventually has to face Beterbiev, one thing is certain: his next move could be the defining moment of his career, and fans will be watching closely to see if he is truly ready for the toughest challenges in the division. Benavidez's reluctance to face Beterbiev is understandable, given the toll his last fight took on him. Against David Morrell, he was visibly outmatched, taking a severe beating that left him looking exhausted and battered in the later rounds. His volume punching, which had been a key weapon in his previous fights, seemed ineffective against a stronger, more composed opponent. Many believe that if he steps into the ring with Beterbiev, the result could be even worse. Beterbiev is not just a power puncher, he's a highly skilled finisher who breaks down his opponents with calculated aggression. His ability to cut off the ring and force fighters into uncomfortable exchanges is what has made him such a dominant force in the light heavyweight division. If Benavidez struggled against Morrell, the challenge of facing Beterbiev could be too overwhelming for him to handle. Meanwhile, some critics argue that Benavidez is making strategic career moves rather than simply avoiding tough fights. He understands that boxing is not just about skill and power, it's also about timing and matchmaking. By targeting Bivol instead of Beterbiev, he increases his chances of winning and keeping his undefeated record intact. If he were to defeat Bivol, it would be a significant achievement, adding credibility to his claim of being one of the best in the division. However, even if he does manage to beat Bivol, that doesn't necessarily mean he's superior to Canelo Alvarez. Canelo fought Bivol while moving up in weight, giving up a size advantage that Benavidez wouldn't have to deal with. Additionally, Canelo has faced elite competition throughout his career, something Benavidez is still trying to prove he can handle. Another factor in Benavidez's decision could be his long-term career sustainability. Taking unnecessary damage can shorten a fighter's prime, and after enduring heavy punishment in recent bouts, Benavidez may be looking to preserve himself for as long as possible. A fight against Bivol would likely be more technical, with fewer risks of taking fight-ending shots. On the other hand, stepping into the ring with Beterbiev could lead to a physically grueling battle that may take years off his career. Fighters often have to balance legacy with longevity, and Benavidez seems to be leaning toward the safer option. However, some fans and analysts believe that true greatness comes from taking on the biggest challenges, and until he faces Beterbiev, questions will remain about whether he can handle the hardest-hitting fighters in the division. Regardless of which path he chooses, Benavidez will need to deliver a dominant performance in his next fight to silence his critics. If he fights Bivol and struggles, it will only fuel the argument that he isn't ready for the top names at light heavyweight. If he wins convincingly, he may earn the respect of those who doubt him, but the Beterbiev question will still linger. Boxing fans love warriors who take on all comers, and for now, Benavidez's decision to prioritize Bivol over Beterbiev is being seen by many as a way to avoid the most dangerous fight available. Whether that perception changes will depend on how he performs in the ring and whether he eventually steps up to face the challenge that fans truly want to see.